Hi everyone, welcome to QNAP UK's YouTube channel. I'm Tom, the channel manager for QNAP UK, and today we're going to be looking at a new switch in our lineup. It's the first 25 gig switch that QNAP have released. It is the QSW-M5216-T. So I wanted to cover off a little bit about why customers might want to upgrade to 25 gig, some of the problems with current options in the market for that, hopefully why our switch doesn't fall foul of the same issues. We'll have a look at some of the hardware and software functions of the unit and do a quick unboxing so that we can see what the design looks like, yeah, that should be it. So if you haven't already, please do like and subscribe to the channel, and let's get started. So first off, why would you want to upgrade to 25 gig? Well, we're getting an increasing number of customers say that 10 gig's no longer quick enough, that customers are struggling to cope with the increasing backup sizes and decreasing backup windows that are still affecting businesses. And 25 gig's going to make a massive improvement here, right? If you think about uploading or backing up a 1 terabyte file, then that can take about 17 minutes over 10 gig and should take as little as 7 minutes over 25 gig. 25 gig is going to make a massive improvement if you're a media company as well. If you've got multiple editors trying to edit multiple 4 or 8K streams, then 25 gig is going to allow a lot more bandwidth here. So if you think you've got 3 editors all using a 10 gig pipe, then they can pretty much be looked after by one 25 gig connection. The important thing to remember basically is that 25 gig is going to give you 2.5 times the amount of speed and bandwidth, but it's not going to cost 2.5 times the amount of infrastructure costs as 10 gig. Currently 25 gig options aren't without their issues, particularly for SMB customers. If you look at what's out there in the market at the moment, there's very much a data center or enterprise customer market. This means that typically the switches are going to be large, 24 to 48 ports and sometimes even bigger. They're a high-end design, which means there's no easy to use GUI or web management. And this can lead to expensive setup and installation costs, as well as configuration. And the switches themselves are very expensive as well. They're around sort of 4K, and that might get you maybe a 12 port switch, which is going to have 10 gig ports and maybe 2 25 gig ports on the end, rather than being a fully 25 gig switch. Essentially at the moment it's very clear that 25 gig is aimed at enterprise class customers, and it comes with an enterprise price tag. The QSW-M5216-T is very different, hopefully, than everything that's out there at the moment, in that it is definitely aimed at the SMB market. So first of all, it's affordable. It's a £1,000 switch for, it's a £1,000 ex VAT in the UK MSRP. It's a layer 2 web managed switch, so it's got a really easy to use and feature rich GUI that doesn't need a 6-month training course to know how to set up. And following on from that, it should be a fairly painless upgrade. If you want to move to QNAP DAC cables or use QNAP's 25 gig expansion cards, then you can upgrade the existing devices on your network, if that's Windows servers or QNAP NASs themselves. It's hard to think of something else that you could do to your network that's going to have this level of performance impact at this minimal level of cost and time investment. The management of the switch is through QNAP's QSS Software, which stands for QNAP Switch System. This GUI provides a overboard dashboard. It's where you can set up your port management, and it has a setting guide, which makes control and setup of the switch intuitive and easy. From here you can also set up LACP to control your link aggregation, configure your VLANs, and also prioritize bandwidth using QoS. The M5216 has a host of security and system functionality as well, supporting ACL for controlling traffic into the network, selectively admitting or rejecting inbound traffic. Supports LLDP, which allows devices to advertise their device information to other directly connected peers. It supports RSTP for easily deploying small-scale networks that support expansion, redundancy and loop prevention. And flow control to balance data across the network so that you don't get basically traffic jams of data, which might lead to packets needing to be retransmitted. So let's get it out of the box and have a little look at the design and some of the hardware features. So here it is, the QSW-M5216-T has 16 25 gig SFP 28 ports, fibre ports, and a backbone switching capacity of 820 gigabits per second, which is a pretty impressive amount of bandwidth for a £1,000 switch. All those 16 ports are backwards compatible with 10 gig SFP plus and 1 gig SFP fibre. So that means you wouldn't necessarily need to upgrade all the devices in your network when you first install the 25 gig if you didn't want to, or perhaps something wasn't upgradable. There's one 10 gig RJ45 port on the front there as well. So if you wanted to expand to another 10 gig network or directly to a 10 gig switch for a hybrid network connection, that's really helpful there as well. And then there's a status light on the front as well. So on the back of the unit, we've got power in. There's a RJ45 management port and a RS232 console port as well, and then a reset button there as well. Inside the unit there is a fan, but there's also a large heatsink, a conductive and directive heatsink, which alongside the unit's smart cooling system means that even though it's a high performance unit, it is described as near silent on the specs. The unit supports IEEE 802.3AZ, which stands for Energy Efficient Ethernet, which reduces the power consumption of the unit without sacrificing on performance or functionality. By dynamically adjusting for link speeds and activities within the switch, it can provide up to 50% saving on operational costs. In terms of pairing this new switch with existing QNAP products, then there's 3 NAS units that we have out at the moment that come with 25 gig inbuilt as standard, and they are the brand new TDS H2489FU, which is a dual Intel CPU unit. We've got the very popular TSH2490FU, which with the AMD EPYC CPU, and a slightly more cost-effective 30-bay SATA SSD unit, the TSH3088X. So they are all flash units, which is going to drive performance and max out those large 25 gig connections. Additionally, there are 20 plus NAS units listed on our website at the moment that currently support upgrading to 25 gig with our 25 gig expansion cards, so that's something to look at as well. If you compare QNAP to some of our competition, then you'll notice that our competition normally places their high-speed connection ports directly on board rather than by PCIe slot. Which means that when they come to upgrade from 10 gig perhaps to 25 gig, those ports are going to become redundant, or they're going to have to use up a valuable PCIe expansion slot, which might mean the customer has to choose perhaps between expanding the storage or the SSD storage of a unit, or even adding extra JBOD shells. They're going to have to choose potentially between that and 25 gig, which isn't going to be a problem with QNAP, particularly because we tend to be very generous with the amount of PCIe slots that are available on our NAS units in general anyway. So that's everything I wanted to cover off today. Thanks for watching. I hope you found this video informative. Like I said at the top, we are seeing 25 gig as a request on more and more quotes daily, so it's obviously going to be a big part of our NAS portfolio moving forward. It's an affordable switch, it's high performance, it's low power, hopefully it sells really well. Thanks for watching as always. If you haven't, please do like and subscribe to the video, as well as if you have any questions about the switch or any of our wider products, then please do put them in the comments below and myself or Craig will get back to you. Thanks again, bye.